thank you very, very much for making time to come through.
Yeah,
I
thank you
appreciate it.
for inviting me to come
My
on your
pleasure.
show.
Yeah, my pleasure. Um, I'm I'm still kind of reeling from like I got to see you earlier today in your element doing your thing. Willy Wonka in this whole film industry, surge. But, as you already know, my favorite conversation is just the personal who are you as a person
Yeah.
and what have you discovered about yourself and how are you expressing these things out in your life? You know what I mean? And you are somebody, in my opinion, my humble opinion, who uh, there is clearly a self perception with you that is thoughtful, positive, and creative. And you're not somebody that moves through the room loudly. You're not somebody that um, like makes it a point to find the light so you can have the attention type of
Yeah.
thing. But you do have a magnetism about you. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I think a lot of it has to do with, again, just my humble opinion. I think a lot of it has to do with just your self-esteem. You know what I mean? And however you've developed and built your self-esteem over the course of your life,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It gets silently communicated.
Oh wow,
So
thank you.
it's dope to watch.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's a
Nice to
fact.
know.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad. That's true. I'm glad. I mean, everything you said, thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
and I try to. Yeah, I definitely am not one to. Hey, look at me. Like
Right.
that's not my thing.
Right.
I don't know. It may be because I was shy growing up. I was,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a little more. I guess like humble about everything. And maybe from the outside looking in, maybe what's reflected looks differently than what I perceive
Okay.
internally,
Okay.
I don't know. That might be it,
Yeah.
Maybe what others might see, like, oh, you should be a little more. One of my friends said to me, she said, Desiree, you're doing this panel, you're doing this and that, you got this promote. You don't talk about it enough. I'm like, what am I supposed to say? I was like, I guess I'm just like trying to get to a certain point,
Right.
And I guess maybe sometimes you get so busy with moving through life,
Yeah.
you don't stop to really relish in like what you've done and accomplished,
Yeah.
Maybe that's a part of it too.
It is. And I think that, for people who are doing work that they are aligned with or the work that they've chosen in life, like not just the job that was available, but like,
Right.
nah, I want to move in this direction with my gifts and skills and knowledge and interests. So much of your attention is on the work that you're doing, even when it comes to the day that you're on a panel discussion talking about, what all is coming and what all has been done, or the day that you're hosting an event, or like all these like bullet points. It's like the bullet points only exist because of the work that you've been putting in,
Right.
and your mind is still focused on the work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's work to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
As soon as this thing is over, whatever
Yeah.
this event is, this
Yeah.
panel, this tour,
Right.
I know what my workload is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I need to get that stuff done.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can dig it. I dig like it's not nobody's having the experience that you're having.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So, we all look at it like, oh well, you're the thing.
Right.
And you're like, no, I'm
No,
not.
I'm not. Definitely not. There is someone who is the thing, but it ain't me.
It ain't me. Got you.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned like being a little girl, you were shy.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm still kind of shy. I'm still very shy though.
mm,
And wait, like some people tell me like, oh, like I always felt like I was an introvert, and maybe I'm more of an ambivert.
okay.
So I'm like a little of both.
Mhm.
I can be extroverted when necessary,
Yeah.
but my preferred way of being is just introverted to
Mhm.
myself, quiet, chill,
Mhm.
at home, like whatever,
Yeah.
or so I was shy growing up, and I feel like I still am sort of shy. That's
Mhm.
like not comfort zone, but like that's where the way I kind of move sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
a little shy.
Yeah.
But had to learn how to break through that, of course,
Mhm.
So yeah, little girl, I was very shy.
Yeah. What else do you remember like identifying about yourself as a little girl, like your personality traits, whether they remained with you through life or not? But like,
quiet. I was quiet. I still am quiet.
Yeah.
I can talk if you ask me a question that
Right.
I feel confident in answering, but I'm still generally quiet because
Yeah.
I feel like I like to kind of learn from what's happening around me more so than to be the voice to say, oh, I got something to say.
Yeah.
That's just the way I am naturally. But yeah, I was like sort of shy, quiet growing up. Did well in school, as far as like academically when it came to like elementary school, high school, and things like that. So that was basically how I was. I felt like I started to kind of break out of my shell, so to speak. And so like as I got older, because you have to, you can't be afraid to do things forever. You know what I'm saying? Or shy or afraid of how the world will perceive you. And now I don't care what people think. I'm doing what I'm doing, and that's it.
Yeah, you strike me as somebody who, as far as like the introvert, extrovert, ambivert conversation, and whatever other verts there are, like you comfortably and willingly become the extrovert when you are championing a thing that you believe in,
right?
But not for the sake of yourself. You know what I mean? Like you take up the charge, and you're not shy about doing it when you decide, all right, this needs to be done for this thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is also refreshing, because like sometimes people who, not to fault them or anything, but sometimes people who are introverts, when it's time to do the expressive thing, they do it like an introvert.
Yeah.
And it takes away from the power of the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
So it's like when it's time to talk about this issue, this topic, this event, this initiative, it's like give it up honestly, so that the people who want it can get it, and you can carry on doing what you want to do, and you can go back to being the introvert.
Go back to my little right.
Like once they know and they buy in, you can go back to doing your thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You went to college where?
I went to I originally went to Hampton. That was where I was like HBCU. I was in a marching band, believe it or not.
Really? What instrument?
I played the clarinet.
Oh, okay.
Only for like 3 weeks. I was like 2-a-days in the sun, running 3 miles twice a day in the sun. I was like, y'all can have this. I'm from up north. I'm
right.
I'm gonna go to the dorm. Y'all can have the marching band. But it was a lot of hazing and all that. But it was cool. Like some folks are confused about how old I am, but I am a millennial, on the other half of 35. But I was a fan of Drumline movie.
Yeah.
I was a fan of A Different World. Like I grew up with a lot of, with a great sense of Black pride and just culture and just loving who I was as a Black person. So I had to go to a HBCU. So I went there, loved it, met some great people, still keep in touch with a lot of folks from there to this day. But yeah, I was in the marching band for a little bit, scaled back,
Yeah.
But I wound up transferring over to Rutgers, Newark, and finishing my last year right there. So yeah.
Blackness is something that I especially love talking about, partly because I feel like in a lot of instances still it's underestimated. Not only Blackness in and of itself and the contributions of Blackness, but Black people's perception of Blackness. Like I think there's an assumption that Black people still need to be taught their Blackness. And I think that's a misperception in a lot of cases. Like I saw this clip this morning. This guy was talking about how, I don't know what the larger context of the conversation was. But the guy was talking about how, there was some event, like I think in Paris years ago, and they talked about like, what makes you proud of your heritage. And he was like, the white kid, the white American kid was like, well, I walk around in the world with this passport, this blue passport. And that means that I come from a country that basically dominates in all these fields, you know what I mean? Commercially, socially, like, the world by and large still wants to go to America. And he was like, there was a Japanese kid, and his thing was like, well, our contributions on the tech side of things, like you live in the world of our creations, your kitchen appliances. It was like something like 3 out of every 5 cars on the road, like all these is like you live in what we create, and
Right.
we know that,
Right.
and we're not just Asian. Like
Right.
Japan is different, and we know we're different.
Right.
And then there was an assumption like for the black people that it was just an open-ended thing, like
Oh God.
we don't have anything. And I'm like, wait a minute,
We
what?
have a lot.
We have a lot.
We have a lot.
What are you talking about?
And then like, it's like you have. I mean, and then black folks, we come in so many different. You know, we are from America. You have Black Americans. You have, of course, Africans, Caribbeans. We're such a diverse group, right?
Yeah.
So, and we have so much, especially just speaking because I'm Black American. You know, Black American culture. We just have the music we create, the art,
precisely,
the fashion, just everything, the inventions that have taken place over the years by Black Americans. So I feel like I don't know, like that is something that irritates me. Like when people assume that Black people or just Black Americans don't have this sense of culture when we do. You know what I'm saying? Because let's be honest, like our music, you know, is worldwide. You know, it's around the world. Like everyone wants to be the latest rapper, R&B singer. We are trendsetters.
Do the latest dances.
The latest dances.
Right.
When it comes to hair, fashion, everything. We are trendsetters. Yeah. So I love being Black.
Yeah, like we literally, Blackness has pushed the globe forward for decades and decades and decades.
And it's like we get ignored, or our contributions are appreciated, but they're not acknowledged.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. Like we're good to consume.
Yeah.
But
we're gonna pretend they don't have an identity.
And then it gets washed into like, oh, that was just an America thing.
Yeah. Our
like rock and roll, like jazz, like it's like wait a minute,
everything.
Nah, yeah, we did that.
Yeah. Even like the lingo or like the that was slang. You know, now they want to call it, what do they call it now? Like internet jargon. No, it's not internet jargon. We made it, Black folks.
Right.
We're creative.
That goes even with that terminology. I think it goes to show like how quickly our stuff becomes global.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like the internet is global.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like if you're saying that this vernacular is internet jargon, what you're saying is that it's accessible and understood everywhere.
Everywhere. It's universal.
I mean?
Yeah. We create a universsul language or
absolutely
words that you guys consume, but you don't want to acknowledge where it came from.
Yeah. When you do you remember like your like coming of age moments where you went from little girl to young lady or young lady to woman and in terms of like choices that you made? I'll give you an example like what I'm thinking about. Like when I was younger, when I was a little boy, at a certain point it was my decision, like, do I want to continue with this religion or not? Like, am I gonna go, you know what I mean, am I gonna get dressed in the morning on Sunday and go with my mom?
Right.
Or am I gonna sleep in? Like at a certain point it was clear, like, I gotta make that choice. She's not coming to wake me up. You know what I mean? Or as it relates to like relationships, for sure, there's like the decision of, you know, what direction I want to go in terms of, am I trying to be a bachelor?
Right.
Or am I trying to eventually be a husband? Or am I trying to be a father? Am I trying not to be a father? Like all these things become decisions that are personal decisions.
Right.
That you're no longer socialized into just autopilot.
Yeah.
For a lot of these type of things.
So I would say, I mean, what I guess transformed or transitioned me from like little girl to like adult would definitely be, or young woman would be becoming a mother. Younger.
Okay.
You know, that was definitely a period where I had to like figure things out.
Yeah.
And then from there, just making a conscious decision to stick to, just to stick to certain things, right? So I would say becoming a mom, and then choosing a career field that I believed in. You know, I'm passionate about media and all of that. So I started, Urban Girl when I was out of college and started building that over the years. And I always kept a full-time job because I was like, hey, I need health insurance.
Yeah.
So, that was important, right? And I feel like now I'm a little older. I'm like grown adult woman, and I'm like the rebrand. Like I'm like rebranding, like the relaunch. I feel like I'm to a point now where it's like, all right, I'm just fully who I am, you know, and I'm laser focused on my decisions and what I want in my plan that I have. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like, you know, the last part about being like laser focused about what you want and what your decisions will be is like, it reminds me of my own experience, especially recently, of like, I thought that I was adulting. And then I realized there's levels to adulting. And the levels aren't necessarily about how much money I make or do I rent an apartment or own a house, or like those things aren't the things. Like the levels for me have been my self-actualization. Like how focused am I on the day-to-day living out my desires and obligations. Right. You know what I mean? Like, am I really tapped into this, or am I trying to continue on cruise control to a degree?
I agree with that. And just to that point, I was talking to my brother a little bit a while back. He's a twin. I'm a twin, right? He's a twin. I'm a twin. I have a twin brother. Sometimes I forget because he lives in California, but he's in the military. Okay. And I tell him all the time, like now, you know, in my 30s, I have decided to become a lot more disciplined. And I look at him and I'm like, you were disciplined at 20 because you were in the military. It was like a certain level of discipline that you were able to adjust to that was pushed on you in the military. That's something that I notice now. I'm like super disciplined. Like, and it's kind of like boring at times. I'm like, damn, like, why am I so? I could eat the same breakfast. I have to go to the gym. I have to do these things. Like, and it's like the discipline that I see in myself now. I didn't see in my 20s, and I'm like, maybe that's a part of that, like what you were talking about, transitioning into like this other part, you know, or adulthood or womanhood or whatever. You want to call it.
Yeah, and like I find it, so sometimes it really surprises me how the discipline can be what I enjoy the most. Yeah. Like from time to time, it's like, you know, this morning I wake up at 5, and not because I'm like, I'm going to be a 5 a.m. person, right? But like at a certain point, that was like my rhythm and cycle was like, that was what was natural for me. Right. And so I just was like, all right, well, I'm not beat to be up late just because, so this is going to be it. And, you know, waking up this morning, I had the thought of like, man, I appreciate myself for choosing a last night that affords me a this morning. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not mad that I have to wake up at 5, or I don't have a hangover, or I don't have obligations at 5:30 that I'm like, I gotta wake up just in time to get to this thing. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that type of morning. And yet I'm still waking up at 5. Right. And what I get to do at 5 a.m. is give myself like 3 hours of whatever I want to do. You know what I mean? And what I want to do most is constructive, regenerative, restful mornings. Like, I want a morning that I can have a cup of tea. I'm not having a cup of coffee because I got to get up, because I got to be more alert. Right. You know what I mean? I get to have a cup of tea. I get to read. I get to stretch and exercise. I get to clean up. Like, all these things I get to do is like everything that I get to do in the morning, I feel better about me. Right. You know what I mean? And yes, that is a discipline, but it's also a rewarding discipline. Like, I live in the reward of it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's so dope to me. Like, that's so dope to me that I've developed an appetite for discipline where I can taste the sweetness of it as well. I don't just taste the fiber of it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, you know.
You reap the rewards of your discipline. Yeah. Like, immediately. Yeah. Or the future you is going to thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like, I love you know, I don't always 4:30 is not always fun, but
Right.
I love how I feel after I went to the gym or
Yep.
after I ate something healthy or after I journaled, you know,
Yeah.
or prayed or whatever I
Yeah.
decide to do that
Yep.
morning. And that's to me, right? As I get older,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a necessity. You have
Yeah.
to do those things. Like you have to take that time, sort of like a self-care, to plan your day, and not only your day, your life. Like, what do
Yeah.
you want? What do you want to see in 5 years? What do you want to see
Right.
in 10 years? And you need to kind of write it down,
Yep.
manifest on that, pray on that, you know,
Yep.
make it happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And then
And if you don't do that, your life will reflect that you didn't do that.
Precisely. It will. It absolutely
Yeah.
will. So you know that one of my favorite subjects to talk to you about is your personal style.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're crushing. Right. Where do you get your sense of style?
You asked me this last time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to answer it better this time. So let me figure it out. So I want to say I dress how I guess like how I feel, what's appropriate, what looks cool, what I think looks good on my body, as opposed to what doesn't look good on my body. Like I felt like, you know, after I had my I have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
My youngest is 5. After I had her, you know, that postpartum weight, I was like, dang.
Gotcha.
Like I had to adjust my style a little bit.
Yeah.
But since I've been like working out, I'm like, all right, I'm more comfortable in certain things. So, and I just love style, fashion, uniqueness of style, color.
Yeah.
You always so fly.
Thank you.
mean,
Thank you.
Period. But
Thank
I
you.
love like Pinterest. I stay on like Pinterest looking up, you know, what fashion inspiration and things like that. So
right.
Yeah.
But like, all right, I accept that answer. That is
I knew you wasn't gonna accept it. I knew you. What's the follow up?
It's so buttoned up. Like if I'm scanning you right now, hair, frames, lips, earrings.
I'm
like,
trying.
Bang, 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 all the way down. Like there's nothing gets skipped. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like, people may try to get away with the jeans that day if the shirt is fly.
Right.
And the kicks are fly.
Right.
And it's like, nah, Des don't do that. Like she don't skip steps. You know, she don't skip pieces. You know what I mean? But I'm also, you know, you never look like, and this is my language, you never look like a mannequin.
Okay.
Right? But you also never look like you're half trying. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like you're obviously very absorbent. Like you are observant and absorbing things that you see wherever you see them. But you're not just copycatting things you see.
I have my own little twist.
Yeah.
You know, if I do see something and I'm like, oh, that's cute, I can do that, but I'll probably do it a little different. You know, I'm not I'm not like obsessive with clothes because it can be a waste. Like you don't want to spend all your money on clothes, but I love to I love to like do it all, like thrifts. I love to, you know, find stuff on sale.
Yeah.
I love quality too. You know, so I like to like mix and match.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I dig it. You mentioned you got 2 daughters, right? I have a son and a daughter, but my kids are both a little older in terms of kids concerned. My daughter's 18, my son's 17. Right. When I think about parenthood as an individual, like not as the role of parenthood per se, but like as how it's affected me as an individual.
Right.
I'm really appreciative of the change that it's made in me as a person. I'm mindful of the changes that it's made. I'm mindful that it's like I feel like I'm standing on a higher plane because by default, I have to be considerate of these people. You know what I mean? Subconsciously or consciously, in my decision making, in my dreaming and imagination, and in my execution.
Right.
Like these things this is the package. You know what I mean? And I'm also aware that like whatever I thought my line was of I'll go this far was exponentially pushed further once I became a parent. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like I don't want to talk about it now. I don't want to talk about how far I'll go now because I know.
Right.
But like, it's not even for conversation. Like, if we're there, you'll know.
Yeah.
But I'm not going. And young, immature me would have been happy to talk about. I'll do such and such. You know what I mean? But now I'm not even like entertaining the discussion about it.
Right.
But that's something that is another example to me of like how it's changed me. I'm uninterested in promoting my identity through this thing. You know what I mean? What would you say has being a mom taught you about yourself, or how has it impacted or changed you?
I would say being a mom, it's going back to like, I guess like going back to discipline, right? I feel like at a young age, I was pushed to be a little more serious about life because I had a child looking up to me.
Yeah.
So when not too young, I was in my 20 something. I ain't gonna give out my age, but I was in my 20s. Yeah. And it made me, I had to buckle down and get serious about what I really wanted to do. I also always stuck to what my goals were. Like, always wanted to, have a career, some type of career in media, So I always stuck to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to finish school. A lot of folks, I had my daughter while I was just about finishing school, and folks were saying it wouldn't happen, but it happened. I wanted to complete it. And just, I have to be an example for both of them so they can see, like, Black women can do great things too, you know? So it definitely encourages me to just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, that's something that I think is so interesting. Like, I talk about it as like consideration, but you made a really great point about how it turns you into an example by default.
Yeah.
And the mindfulness and awareness and conscientiousness of the fact that you are an example. Somebody's watching.
Yeah.
Whether you're performing or not, there's an audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And having that mindfulness is like, it changes completely like how for me, it has changed completely. Not only how I show up in the present, but also like the way that I charge myself with having forward thinking and vision.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm a farmer. Like, I have to plow this soil for the next season. You know what I mean? Or for the next year, or for the whatever. Like, I have to be mindful of that. I don't live like I can just go to the store to get it. You know what I mean? Because like, what happens if they close the store?
Yeah.
My kids don't eat.
Yep.
I'm not gonna play with my kids eating.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna be fed.
Right.
And the best thing for me to do in that instance is be a good farmer. You know what I mean? Like, don't be a good shopper.
Right.
Be a good farmer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What is your relationship with ambition?
Ambition. I think I have that's a good question. I would say I have a very familiar relationship with ambition. I feel like I have a lot of ambition, definitely. Like, I feel like maybe I'm too ambitious at times on certain things I want to do and want to accomplish. I'm probably delusional in a sense when I think about like what I want versus what's in the present. Like, but I'm looking at what I want, So I'm probably delusional in that sense.
Yeah.
So, which makes me even more ambitious. Like, if I don't get to the, how the saying goes, if you don't touch the stars, you'll land on the moon, whatever. If I don't get to that super goal or that super high ambitious goal, maybe I'll get pretty close, But I think I am pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think you have to be. Yeah, in life, you have to be.
I mean, you have to be in your life, right? Like, evidently you don't have to be.
Right. There's people who aren't, right?
Yeah. But like, I think that's also a dope thing about ambition, especially as we mature through life, is understanding like the person that I am has to be ambitious.
Yeah.
I have to manage my ambition. I have to use it as a tool and not just a blazing fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't not be ambitious. Not me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I dig that. Yeah, I dig that. And then what's your relationship with gratitude?
Gratitude. I'm definitely try my best to be as gracious or grateful as possible. I was looking, I know I seen like this video. It was talking about one of the best ways to like just not allow, because as humans, sometimes our negative thoughts can outweigh the positive or whatever. One of the best ways to kind of challenge that or to balance that is to every day write down things you're grateful for. Yeah. And I know you do your series about gratitude, which I think is dope. So that's something I have been like doing. Like, you know what? I'm grateful for this. Write down like 5 things, So yeah, I'm definitely grateful. Sometimes I just sit back and just be like, thank you. Thank you.
It's funny. I've had this thought recently, and I'm gonna create something around it, which I'll share with you once I create it. But it's like I had the thought recently about how do I change my paradigm, my mental paradigm, so that the way I operate is more rooted in gratitude. Right?
It's tough.
So like it is tough because
naturally we're not wired that way.
Yeah, and then conditioning on top of the natural is
the
like
conditioning. Yep.
Right.
But music, media, everything,
right,
telling you the opposite.
Exactly. Right. Half the time telling you there's nothing to be grateful for. Life sucks.
Yeah, which is a lie.
Right. And then the other half telling you, or not the other half, but another portion of it telling you just to be chasing, which doesn't put you in the seat of gratitude.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which means that you're missing a lot of the things that you should be grateful for.
That's true.
You're chasing this future thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's
right?
True.
So I thought about it like, man, I'm aware. I was aware at this is the other day over the weekend. I had this realization that typically I make my good choices and decisions because I want a good future. Right? Like I wake up, even if I can sleep in for 2 more hours, I don't.
Right.
Right. And it's because I want a better future than what sleeping in is going to give me. You know what I mean? Or if it's like some moral choice to make, it's like, yeah, I want the good future of the good choice. I don't want the bad future of the indulgent choice or the immoral choice or what have you. And what I would much rather do is reframe my paradigm so that I'm making these decisions because I'm so grateful about my good past. Whatever constitutes my good past. Right? Like my past isn't all good. But I've had enough good that I'm sufficiently equipped to pull from that for all of my choice making.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm thankful that I should go run because I'm grateful that I can run.
You can run.
I should go to the gym because I'm grateful that I can still go to the gym.
You can still go.
You know what I mean?
And if you going today, it's gonna also benefit you tomorrow.
It will.
Or will be the determining factor if you can go in 20 years.
Right. Right. Yeah. So. And it's like, but in the moment of making the choice, there's always the creeping thought of, but I don't have to go, or I can go later.
Yeah.
Or I can go twice tomorrow, or something, right? Whereas if the decision is based on my gratitude, I don't get to wishy-wash. Did I have a great experience in the past, or am I currently able to run or work out or whatever? Like that's already a fact. You know what I mean? So I don't get to play around with it. Like the thing exists. I am capable. I am able. I did have the blessing. I did have the reward.
Right.
That's a fact, which means this choice should be as much of a fact.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it was like, all right, that's a way of thinking, but how do I make this something that I can live in every day? You know what I mean? Because it's going to require like creating new practices that I don't currently.
New habits, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I started to work out this like workbook with like some journaling aspects and movement aspects and mindfulness things, and it started to build a little more. So once that's finished, I'll be happy to share it with you. Because one thing that you mentioned that I'm not particularly proficient in is, or I'm not practicing. I don't journal my gratitude daily in writing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's a practice.
Yeah.
And I know I could benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
feel like writing things down is just as much as because sometimes I do get in my notes and I might type things out, but it's nothing as I guess like rewarding or nothing as solid as like pen to paper.
Yeah,
You know, nothing
yeah.
is that permanent. You
Right.
know,
Right.
I just feel like it does something else, maybe even on a spiritual level that we don't even realize.
Yeah.
That writing something pen to paper almost like solidifies what you want to do.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. It makes it puts it in the real world. Like
Yeah.
it's a physical, tangible thing that you can point out and show other people.
And you made the intention
The
to
fact
write
that you wrote
it.
it down. Yeah.
Your handwriting. It's
Yeah.
it's your identity on it.
Right.
You know, I type things all the time, but it's something to me. I just have to have a notebook.
Yep.
You know.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about Urban Girl Mag. What inspired that? Like specifically that platform. You said you knew you wanted to be in media, but you could have done a bunch of different things in media. So like, what was it about this particular idea? First of all, can you explain Urban Girl Mag and what
Urban
exactly
Girl.
it is? Urban Girl Mag. What do I keep saying?
Urban Girl Mag. No, you said it right.
Oh, okay.
Urban Girl Mag.
Yeah.
So it's a digital publication that I started like right after I finished college, because right after I was done with school, I was looking to work, of course, in entertainment or media in some sort, in some facet. I really wanted to work in the world of magazines because I grew up reading magazines. That was like our way. Before websites, before social media, it was magazines. Yep. So I wanted to do that. That was a goal of mine. So after graduation, things were kind of transitioning from print to digital. And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to start a digital publication. So that's what I started. The reason it's called Urban Girl is because I wanted to. Okay, so when I went to Hampton, there was a culture shock. You know, I'm a Black girl from the hood, so this was my first time being exposed to this Black upper middle class echelon of America. I was never around people whose parents were doctors, lawyers, who owned multiple businesses, multimillionaires, Black people who look like me. So I was like, man, this is weird. You know, I would never think I would have a culture shock around people who look like me. Right. You know, so that inspired me to sort of like create a platform that can speak to young urban women, because I feel like we still need a voice, you know, in some way.
For sure.
That was the intention in the beginning.
Yeah.
But so basically the website is devoted to, you know, there's some local news there, entertainment, fashion, things like that. Some gossip stuff, you know. I'm looking to like relaunch the website eventually to update it. Meta is hating. They took down my Instagram.
Really?
Yes. They deactivated my Instagram.
Why?
In August.
August?
Yeah. It's been down since August. The Instagram. So it's weird.
Okay.
They deactivate out of nowhere.
Okay.
Trying to get that back up.
Yeah.
But even going back to really answer the question more accurately, when I was in high school, I went to Costa Rica in this foreign exchange program. And while I was there, we were in this one little neighborhood where these Costa Rican teenage boys looked at me, first time ever seen a Black woman, and they said derogatory English derogatory terms. So they couldn't speak English, but they could say these curse words in English to a Black person. So, and that as a 15-year-old, it was like, what?
Yeah.
You know? But then I was like, oh, I get it. The only thing they've ever seen as it relates to Black women was negative stuff they've seen on TV. So I was like, and then I started to kind of become inspired to be like, well, maybe if I can change what's seen in the media when it relates to Black women, maybe I could help do that. So that's really what inspired me to sort of like start to really imagine myself in a career in journalism and in media.
Yeah. And okay, I get it. I dig it.
Yeah.
And then how has it, from your position and perspective, how has the platform evolved over time?
I would say, I mean, it's grown. Like we have, notoriety. But I would also say I had to sort of like start to lean into like the celebrity gossip part because people respond to that more. Yeah. So on Instagram, of course, we talk about celebrity news and things like that. So I had to sort of like lean into like certain topics or certain things that I really wanted to stay away from when I first started the brand. But I was like, people want to know about this.
Right.
So I started to kind of like, I guess sort of like lean into that, like the gossip, celebrity gossip type stuff. But it definitely has evolved more so. I would say I focus more on entertainment, also more on like community. One of the main focuses is like highlighting Black-owned businesses. That's one thing that I really am passionate about as well.
Yeah.
Which I also use the platform to uplift those, you know, Black businesses within like the neighborhoods and in Jersey, New York, all over.
Yeah. Dope. Very dope. Yeah, it's such a interesting experience to have when you create and build up a platform, and that platform has its own weight and its own value in the world, and it's not because of Desiree. You know what I mean? Like the New York Times is not because of Tehsuan.
Right.
Like there's some people who think that's it.
Yeah.
And there's many people who have no idea that Tehsuan exists.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they know the platform. You know? And first of all, congratulations on
Thank you.
the fruition of your work.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Because it's a big deal. And it's also a big deal specifically to the point of your purpose in starting it. It's like being in the seat of control and equity in the conversation specifically around Black women. Yeah. It's like it's one thing to be the CEO of a company that you don't own. You're still hired help. You know what I mean? Right. But there's something else about being the owner and being able to decide whatever direction you want to go in, how fast and how much you want to lean into that, if you want to make a change or double down, whatever the case is. Right. And aside from having all of the cool things that come with that power, you have the experience of when Meta decides they want to get funky. Now you got to figure some new shit out.
Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But thankfully, it's you in that position and not somebody else in that position who's going to decide, all right, well, we're changing this to Valley Girl Mag. Right. And it's like, that's the decision.
Right.
Like,
and I got to go with it.
Yeah.
Right. You have I have the power in that role. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Dope. Very dope. What are your favorite creative activities? Like, what do you like to do for your own creative spirit?
I would say, writing could be one. You know, I contribute to other publications besides Urban Girl, Essence, XO Nicole. So that's one of them. And
you say that so casually.
And what else? I mean, I used to also be a makeup artist for a little bit. I used to do weddings, photo shoots. I did a commercial shoot for a hair brand before. Like, so I used to express myself creatively through makeup because I would love makeup, which is crazy because my daughter now is like super good at it, you know, from watching me when she was little.
Dope, yeah.
So, so of course, artistically you would say makeup. And I also just love the idea of like just content creation, you know. I don't do it as much, but I just enjoy the freedom if I wanted to. Like, hey, I could create a video right now, or I can take photos, really dope photos. So I would say writing, of course, makeup artistry, and just the ability to create content, whether that be videos, photos, whatever.
Yeah.
I decide.
Dope. Very dope. Yeah, I like it. You know, it's something that I wouldn't say I take it for granted, but I'm so used to this life where my thoughts, opinions, skills, gifts, expertise, and interests are all aligned so much in how I use my time and energy. Yeah. That like I don't consider it. It's not work most of the time. Yeah. Like most of the time it's not work. Right. You know what I mean? But that's because this is the stuff I'm interested in. You know what I mean? And I've invested my time and energy and money into. So
I think it's a blessing to be able to do something that you enjoy so much, even though it's work, but it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
It's a huge blessing.
It's a blessing to be able to get better at something that you're already good at. Yeah. Like that's so ill. You know what I mean? Because like, especially when you're in this type of position where it's not because your boss is looking for you to upskill. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, my appetite, the interest for this thing means that I need to get better in order to stay interested.
Right.
Like,
right.
I'm not going to stay interested if I just plateau here
Mm-hmm.
and just be the man
Mm-hmm.
at this level. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's super fly. I think. I don't typically talk directly about Newark, um, but I do want to talk about it because you are a storyteller and you are a Norker, and you're also very much at the forefront of the Newark as it's coming and developing and expanding. You know what I'm saying? What are you most looking forward to, or what are some things that you most look forward to in terms of what you see as Newark's future?
When it comes and as it relates to like the film part or
Whatever. Let's start with film.
okay. So, I mean, I'm just excited to see our people, especially the community, be like added into the fold as it relates to as we, begin to really take off when it comes to like film and TV and things like that. So as we all know, the film industry is definitely picking up here in Jersey, and Newark being the largest city, we will get the bulk of the interest when it comes to film and TV.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to see how education is involved, to see how the workforce training programs come about and how we can really do things the right way and really just figure out the best way to incorporate our community into that,
Yeah.
because it's about the people, at the end of the day. And when you think about it, the industry is so, it's not diverse. It lacks diversity. And that is a big thing, So in a city that is so diverse such as Newark, it just makes the most sense to make sure we incorporate our people as much as we can.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then outside of film industry, like what do you look forward to?
To Newark, like as far as like the future of Newark, where Newark is going.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. Like I feel like, especially working for the mayor, like I feel like working for someone like that, he's a freaking like genius, and the guy the mayor is someone who I feel like is the best person to lead Newark to where it needs to go, And in my opinion, where he has been able to take it so far is phenomenal, in my opinion, right? So I'm just excited to see Newark's growth. I was born and raised here, and I can say compared to when I was a kid walking down the streets to now, there has been vast improvements
for sure
when it comes to development, when it comes to community, as far as how the community gets involved, when it comes to how a lot of these agencies that are downtown, how they are also beginning to get more involved when it comes to community. So I'm just excited to see the beauty of Newark continue to unfold, as we move along. So I'm just excited,
Yeah, I'm not typically interested in politics, right? But I do have this idea around Newark mayors that I do like to talk about. I think that every mayor since Adonisio was perfect for their time, for like a very, very specific reason. Like, thankfully, Newark had a Mayor Adonisio at a time where, when it hit its tipping point, you know what I mean? Like people, it was what people know of as Newark's, rebellion or what some people call riots. Like the idea was the powers that be were largely responsible for why there was that much
racial unrest.
Right. And why the soil was so fertile for rebellion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so thankfully that was the case. Like, because, I remember somebody said like one of the best emotions that you can have for your own personal development is disgust. Like when you're disgusted about a thing, then it's like no more discussion.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that was the case for Newark in '67. And then Newark needed a Ken Gibson right after that, who was clearly not, who was clearly one of our people and vocally one of our people, but also wasn't just there to to reach the height of his own personal ambitions.
Right.
Right. Because that could have been the case. Like if you look deeply into the local politics of the time, he was a really good choice for us, for the future, and how it's evolved. And then Sharp James is a really good place, takes up a really good place, especially for the span of time that he was mayor, because there needed to be somebody who was as daring and bold as he was, but also as very, very well-versed in what the politics were on a state level, especially, right? And on a federal level, right? But without Sharp James, you don't get NJPAC, you don't get Prudential Senate, you don't get very many things, right? Then Cory Booker comes along, and Newark is now on the national stage for innovation and progression, and a lot of outside interest comes in. Like that's the first time that you see an influx of new people move to Newark and set up shop in Newark, and a lot of them were Black. Like it wasn't the gentrification that people have been so scared of for the past 20 years, right? It's like there was a lot of Black and brown people who were living in Brooklyn. Cory Booker came and he decided to move to Newark. You know what I mean?
Then you also got the argument of gentrification isn't just a race thing. It's a socioeconomic thing. So you can have Black folks that participate in gentrification as well.
You absolutely will, for sure. Yep. And like to a degree, I'm one of them. Like there's an argument that could be made that like I'm not trying to harken back. I want Newark to move forward, and forward inherently means more expensive. So, there's that. But then you get a Ras Baraka who's like, in my personal speculation and opinion, the most emotionally invested mayor Newark has had out of all of them.
By far.
Like, and B, the most protective mayor of the city's history, the city's present, and the city's future, right? And also a genius, and also imaginative. You know what I mean?
And creative. I think his time to lead the city was the most appropriate. Was now, and Newark, born and bred. There's as speaking to your point of like the emotionally invested. There was a passion there because he's from here. He invested years into the community. Through his work as a teacher and even as an activist. So it just
as an
artist. So it just makes the most sense to have to me, right? To have Mayor Baraka lead the city.
So what is your ambition for your own future? Like what are you looking to do in the coming years?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, what
personal
that
development?
You can share. I know you got some secrets tucked under your sleeve that like.
But like personal development, like what do you mean?
Whatever, personal development, career.
So
creatively.
So I would say like creatively, I can just speak to like the urban girl side. I definitely want to continue to grow the brand. Want to get the Instagram page back because Meta is hating. I don't know what's going on with that, but I want to continue to grow the brand. Update the site and everything. I joined this organization. It's called BOMACY. It's a group of Black-owned media companies, and we kind of like share ideas and resources together. And I met the guy, what is his name? Divine. He owns Blue Magazine. And I met him earlier this year, and it was like right at the right time because I was trying to figure out where I wanted to take Urban Girl, and he had me join this group, and it's a bunch of folks. I'm gonna send you the link because you should join it as well.
Oh, thank you.
It's about like we're just information sharing. Resource sharing. And how to get better advertisers on your website and stuff like that. So it's a dope organization. So I want to grow Urban Girl into that direction to really be a standalone brand, a more recognizable brand. So that's what I definitely want to do. Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah. And personal growth, just continue to evolve. I still have my gym goals and just to continue to evolve. I actually I guess I could tell you. I mean, I'm applying to grad school now. I wanted to go back
Oh,
to
dope.
school. Yeah.
Okay. What
Deadline
are
coming
you
up.
studying?
Journalism and documentary filmmaking.
Okay.
So I think I want to take that up. That's what I'm. The school I'm applying to. Got to see what happens.
Yeah.
Got to see what happens.
Yeah.
But I want to go back. So I want to finish that before the big 4-0.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, very dope, man.
Yeah.
There's something that people say about people die when they don't have anything to live for anymore. So I keep that in mind of have something that I genuinely want to see in myself in a year, you know what I mean, or in the world in 5 years or whatever. Keep that in front of me, because you can start dying really early. You know what I mean?
That's true. That ambition has to be there.
Yeah, yeah. And the optimism also.
Yeah.
You got to be looking at the future positively and optimistically. You know what I mean? And not just as an inevitability.
Right.
Right? And you got to believe that the future will be a better place if I'm there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. That keeps you motivated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
This is very, very, very enjoyable. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your insights. You know what I mean? And your story.
Thank you.
It's super dope, man. You're the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shout out.